bail. And yeah, so it seems like it's a completely normal spot to like take girls to like have a nice moment. The next morning, John B and Ward wake up super early to go fishing. And that's when, you know, like, as soon as I heard that this fishing expedition, I was like, uh-oh, like, this is when he's gonna pop the question. I know you have this gold, and I want it. It's coming to me.
Yeah, especially, like, when they go to the place with the least fish. Like, that's when you know for sure.
Yeah, it's like, his mouth, that's gonna be where everyone is. We don't want people to be looking at us. Why is that? Exactly. So, Ward is drinking a lot of vodka. He tells John B to pour himself one. He says he's impressed that John actually found the fortune of the royal merchant. John denies it, and Ward's like, sure, bro. Ward then warns him that there's a lot of legal and other red tape involved after finding something like this, that he can help deal with that and cut the gang in on it. So yeah, now he's going to be the one cutting things out. Like, why does this guy need any more money? Like, Jesus Christ. They need to tax him more, I guess is what is. Because that's the problem. But John still denies that he found it. Then Ward rattles off all the other things he knows, that they stole the submersible, the Redfield clue. Then he tips his hand. Since really that's the only way he knows about Redfield is if he has the compass. John then threatens to call the sheriff, and Ward looks incredibly menacing as he heads up the stairs with a grappling hook and a gaff. Like, you saw him with the gaff hook, and you know that he's the one. He's Mr. Gaff Hook. He's the guy who's been cutting people open. Ward cuts off a radio and chases John B through the boat with a hook, and they have this kind of really incredibly tense fighting situation. And John B pulls kind of a crossbow out of nowhere. They're in the middle of the ocean, so it doesn't really seem like things are going well for John B, and he's a broken arm. But somehow John shoots Ward in the arm with an arrow and slows him down just enough to lower the jet ski in the water and make his getaway. Close to the shore, the jet skier runs out of gas, and he hops off and swims to Scooter's house. Somehow he's found another pattern button-down shirt that's open one button, and he meets Scooter's wife and tells him the truth. The night his dad disappeared, Ward was crying to Scooter about it being an accident and not meaning to have hurt him. Big John and Ward had been working together to find the royal merchant, and Big John found it, but he did not want to split the profits 50-50 since it was his life's work of 20 years. And all Ward had done recently was write a check. Ward was not very happy with the offer of 20%. Very, very greedy man. They got into a fight, but you can only, if you're trying to renege on this kind of guy, like people like these, they do not take very kindly to agreements going back on when the work is all done. So Ward freaked out. He went to call for help, but paused before actually doing it. Instead, he sold John's map, pushed his body overboard, and sunk the boat where nobody would ever find it. So this is after throwing John's head into the side of the boat where it hit kind of like a cleat he used to tie the boat on. And yeah, what was your take about this moment? Like, I thought this was kind of like the big reveal.
He didn't even check the man's pulse before he pushed him off the boat, and it turns out he wasn't even dead. He came to that island. That's where they
exactly
found the
yeah. It's like it just seems like he didn't care about his life. Like, I don't think he came in with the intention of killing him, but once he did, he was just like, oh, whatever. Like, I can make a profit out of this.
And then, like, he takes his son in, like, without any guilty conscience shown. Like, he brought him into his house, and then he starts to go against him. And it's just...
Yeah, it was very clear. Like, he wasn't bringing John into his house out of the kindness of his heart.
Yeah, I guess so.
He was doing it to... he was kind of doing it to get the treasure. Yeah. So the day of the hurricane, there was only one place Ward and Scooter hadn't looked, and Ward wanted to check it out for the storm, changed the geography of the island. When Scooter got there, he found the compass where Big John had made it to shore. He wasn't dead when Ward dumped his body, and had actually survived for a while on the island. He even made a shelter. John B is so angry, he storms into the house, ignores his friends, grabs the gun, takes off in the dirt bike, before yelling, Ward knows about the gold, he killed my dad. Succinct and to the point. But honestly, maybe you want to take a little bit of a moment, maybe go to the police, say what you know. I'm sure they'd be very interested before running off with a gun on a murderous rampage. Because, like, who would do this? Like, this is not a normal course of action.
He knows Ward's going to go straight to the police and tell a lie, which he did. So.
Yeah, and the thing is, Ward, he's a little bit smarter because he used the police as his friends. Like, and also that's with a fair bit of money behind him, but he used the police as his friend. Yeah. He sneaks into Sarah's room to tell her that her dad killed his dad, but she repeats what her dad told the cops. And John B, because Ward got to the cops first after the boat. John B stabbed him out of nowhere. Later, Ward tells her that John B was saying crazy things and accusing Ward of killing his father, so she should stay away from him with the classic, "Listen, honey, John B is not himself right now." Yeah, so John B storms back into his house. No one is there this time, and peels a photo of his father off the wall. And he makes a little bit of a funeral pyre, and he sets it off in the water. And then he goes back to the axe murderer's house the next day, where the Cameron construction signs have been posted. He goes down to the tunnel, but the gold is all gone. What do you think about this moment?
Well, it definitely made the watcher feel emotion because, all that work just taken away for someone who just came in like a second ago and someone who killed his father. So.
Which is the same problem that John B's dad had with him, right? So, yeah. So apparently none of the gang has gone home since the treasure hunt night, so Pope's dad is pretty pissed when he finally returns. At Pope's scholarship interview the next morning, he tells the committee about his independent study hunting the wreck of the Royal Merchant, then dramatically leaves mid-interview when he realizes something about what his dad had told him as he dropped him off. He landed an odd job clearing the runway of Palms because Ward Cameron had some heavy cargo in his plane and needed the extra length to take off. What was it? Hundreds of millions of dollars of British gold. So this plan is confirmed when Ward discusses it with his hot younger wife, who apparently knew about his accidental murder, and is kind of his partner in crime here. Ward plans to take Sarah with him to the Bahamas, where they got a house and some business interests, but she doesn't want to go with him. He manhandles her and shoves her on the plane, which is very, very crazy. John B. literally stops the entire plane with his VW van to block the takeoff. A cop car follows him on the runway, and it's Sheriff Peterkin. Da-da-da-da. She gets her handcuffs out to come in and arrest. And finally, you think the moment is here. It's all coming. And then this happens.
Waited a long time for this.
Rafe comes from behind with a shot of Sheriff Peterkin, continuing the classic kind of cheesy TV movie trend of someone thinking they're about to shoot someone and then getting shot themselves. Yeah, it's really kind of crazy and really kind of gives the just disturbing line where it's like, "I saved you, Dad," and he really has a weird trend of having his mouth open like kind of a guppy type fish, being like, It's really weird. So this to me, I was like, when I saw the scene, I was just like, wow. Like, this was like, I was just kind of freaking out, and just like the sense of justice of just like bringing people under control is like, it's never going to happen now. What was your reaction?
Yeah, I think he was just trying to tell himself, like, I did this, like, it was the right thing to do, when he really knows it wasn't. Like, later on, he, like, totally breaks down. I think, yeah, and then I also think that he's got to get some help because he's not mentally stable. Like, I remember that scene, I think it was after he shot the guy, he was standing by his bike, and he was, like, talking to himself from, like, 2 points of view. I'm not exactly... Yeah. It was psycho. I don't
yeah. He's, like, he's totally gone off his rocker there for sure. Yeah, that's definitely true. And this is kind of a bad idea because Sheriff Peterkin croaks John B. to call for help, but Ward takes her radio. She then implores John B. to run, which is a really bad idea, and he makes a break for it as Ward gets one of his guys to fly the plane of gold to the Bahamas as Rafe manhandles Sarah into his car and recklessly drives her home, swerving all over the place, and he's also strung out on coke. Ridiculously. The gang sees the plane of gold fly overhead and Pope absolutely loses it, snagging JJ's vape and getting stoned out of his mind. Never mind that he doesn't really do that kind of thing. He ran out of a scholarship interview just for the gold to get stolen by some evil real estate developer. The bad cop shows out to find Ward doing compressions on the sheriff, trying to save him like a good person, and she's dead. The gang takes John B to the police station where he walks in and literally utters the word, I know who shot the sheriff, but a call over the radio announces him as a suspect, so he freaks out and runs away. And with the Ward just going to the bad cop, going to Shoop, and being like, "You see the van? Who do you think shot the sheriff?"
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have, if I were him, I would have stayed, because I don't know if I would have stayed, but maybe I would, because, the cops are just looking for the best evidence, and Peterkin, nice lady, she knows, Ward is kind of sketchy, and
and she had Ward down on the ranch. She was ready to arrest him, and you gotta assume that Shoop knew that.
And Peterkin, she did die. Yeah, she did die. But I'm not sure if she was better. But, I think I would have told my story rather than running away in a van. Maybe.
Yeah. And that's another one of those decisions that you can really kind of question. Back at the Cameron house, Rafe is a full Kendall Roy from Succession Season 2 Downward Spiral. Sarah asks her dad what will happen to him, and Ward's like, nothing. We're rich. Nothing happens to us. She should know that, really, honestly. Ward locks her literally in her room and goes off to deal with his psycho son. Pope is in the middle of his own downward spiral. He confesses his love to Kiara, who thinks with the sentiment, but is absolutely not interested in dating anyone from the island at all. It's not that she doesn't like him, but wants something different for her life. Also, there's kind of a major crisis happening as well. There's a full-on manhunt for John B., who's running through yards and ends up locked in the laundry room of the black rich guy who kind of talks exactly like a white guy, where Topper is hanging out while they wait for the cops to come. Topper has a very serious conversation about true love that ends with John B. saying that being in love with John B. that John B. being in love with Sarah is fun, exciting, and scary. And he says, quote, like getting struck by lightning and not getting burnt, which is it's not that line.
So romantic.
And then Topper's like, did you have sex, but with the expletive? And then he's like, can you not use that word, bro? Yes, we did it, okay? And I was just, that was kind of cringy.
Yeah.
But still funny in the same way, and it kind of rubs it into Hopper's face a little bit. Sarah, meanwhile, gets her little sister to help spring her from her own room and heads to where she knows she'll find John B. the bell tower at the old church. So Topper follows them up the tower where he rings the bell to get everyone's attention. Rafe and the other bro, Barry, catch up, and they now decide to set the church on fire, which is really kind of weird. And Topper confronts the cops while wearing John B.'s hoodie, temporarily tricking them while John B. and Sarah escape in hand. This seems to become sort of some penance for not believing in John B.'s love for Sarah and doing a nice thing for Sarah. Last bit, John B. and Sarah hide in one of her evil real estate stepmother's empty listings and cuddle in bed as John B. tries to mansplain the North Star. But the next morning, John B. wakes up alone, but finds a note that Sarah left him, and she is trying to go to the cops. Pope angrily drives away from Key, meanwhile, on a motorbike, an unexpected dramatic exit for the entire series, but an SBI helicopter lands in a field. This is the State Bureau of Investigation. I looked that up. The island is under a shelter-in-place order, which is kind of a foreshadowing, I guess, for what we're all dealing with now. John B. now has a full police command looking for him. Sarah goes to the headquarters to try and talk to an officer, but her daughter apparently got there first under the guise of a concerned father.
Her dad.
Her dad. I apologize. Got there first under the guise of a concerned father trying to search for her innocent daughter. A cop physically restrains her